Call the Oglesby City Council meeting to order.
Albright.
Here.
Cullinan.
Here.
Curran.
Here.
Udis.
Here.
Rivara.
Here. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need a motion and second to approve the minutes from the April 18th, 2022 regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the April 18th, 2022 regular meeting.
Second.
Albright.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
Rivara.
Aye. Public comments on agenda items only. Having none, we'll move on. I need a motion and second to approve bills as presented for payment.
Make a motion we pay the bills as presented.
Second.
Albright.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
Rivara.
Aye. Next, we have a presentation on the wastewater treatment plant presentation from Chamberlain and Associates.
Hello, I'm Don Bixby. I'm of course with Chamlin Associates. Their senior water and wastewater engineer. And we've been working on this whole process and our waste treatment situation for quite a while. So I've got this handout that I gave to you, and I'll just kind of start reading down through it. It's pretty much everything I need to tell you, and then I can embellish it where we need to and answer your questions. Basically, just right off the bat, and I think we all know this, the city's existing wastewater plant is considerably beyond its useful life, and they're struggling to maintain compliance with the EPA discharge limits. The plant, it needs to be replaced, basically comes down to it, and it has for quite some time. The EPA finally stepped in and basically mandated that we must. But if it's any encouragement, I think, to the community, whether the EPA mandates it or not, obviously this community doesn't want pollution going into the Vermilion River. And so this is just a part of us as a community. I don't know when the first treatment plant was built, probably in the 70s or 80s. And obviously it's beyond its useful life. And so now we're looking at needing to replace it. The schedule that we're working against, on September the 17th of 2021, the US EPA issued an order for the city of Oglesby to construct a new waste treatment plant. And the schedule was that we were to acquire the necessary property to build it on by June the 9th of 2022. And that was accomplished April the, I think it's down here somewhere. Yeah, April the 2nd. So we're ahead of schedule on that. We are to commence the design of this new waste treatment plant by June the 10th of 2022, so next month. We are to complete that design and all the permitting that has to go with it by June the 10th of 24. So we'll have 2 years starting in June to get the plant completely designed and permitted. And then we've got a 2-year period, in particular in which we can be looking at funding alternatives, although those don't have to wait until 2024 to start. But we've got 2 years in there, and then on September the 10th of '26 is when they want us to have started construction. And then they would like to see it completed and actually in operation by December the 31st of 2028. So a total of 6 years from now. So that's the schedule that we're working against. And again, we looked at different options on the land, things that we thought were a good idea, and what we ended up doing is the city actually acquired more land all around their existing waste treatment plant. That was acquired in April, which was 2 months ahead of schedule, which was great. In the meantime, Chamlin's been working with the city here and with Test, and what we wanted to do is we didn't want to come to this night tonight and say, okay, yes, we want to build a treatment plant, wonder what we should build. So what we've been doing is we've been visiting other plants, the city and representatives from Test. We've been all kinds of places. We toured Spring Valley, which is a treatment plant that we designed. In Peru, we looked at their plant. We went down to Fairbury. We went to Coal City, Diamond, Hinckley, Joliet, Mahomet, Romeoville, and basically looking at there are basically 4 or 5 of the most common like waste treatment technologies that anybody's going to build. And we wanted to take a look at them. Obviously, every one of them has its advantages, disadvantages, and so we were able to basically decide on what we really think is the best kind of technology for your situation and your community. So we're ready to go on that. We were also looking at equipment. Obviously, a waste treatment plant has a lot of equipment in it, and I'm also an operator in addition to being an engineer, so I'm very aware that some equipment works really well, and then there's other equipment. And the key is we want to fill this place with the equipment that works really well. So we've still got some work to do. Going to do a few more tours of different plants, look at different equipment, but we're pretty well along the way of exactly what we want to put in.
So do you have any idea what that is, since there's 5 options, you've toured 12 already? So how many more do we have to look at? Because I expect you guys to be the expert here.
Yeah.
So why are we touring plants when you guys should understand the 5 options? And
Well,
I don't think everyone else is really comparable to us, so that's another reason why I'm
Right.
confused why we're all taking tours of Illinois to look at plants when you
Well-
built a couple of them too.
Right, but I guess the thing I never want to do as an engineer is step in and just tell you as a community, this is the kind of plant you need, that's it, period. No
This sure
questions
seems
asked.
like that's what's happening right now,
But-
because you guys are already working on it, and now we're
But-
too late to take you out of it, so
But
that's
it's
why.
not- but
I
it's
wanna
not
know.
just- But it's not just us, it's with the Test guys and,
Which you guys are very close with too, it's just so
Yeah.
we understand that friendship too, but continue
Right.
on.
right. But again, I want to be convinced that the guys that are going to run the plant are very content with this technology, and again, I think the choice is very good, so I'm very happy with it. But we want you as a community, and I mean, they're your representatives, we want you to be happy with what's being designed. And you've probably been around long enough, you know that most engineers won't take the time to do that. And we do, because we want you to be happy with it. This is your plant, not ours, and we want you and your operators to be happy with what they're getting.
So when you're doing these tours, you're looking at equipment, and what else are you looking at? Like,
Ne-
what
well-
changes from place? I haven't really been involved at all, and now it sounds like we're already locked in, so I wanna really know what has happened until right now.
Right.
Preferably, just
Yeah.
so I understand what all this legwork was and everything that,
Right.
oh, now we have to go with Chamlin's or we don't have another option, so that would be where I'd wanna start this conversation, not, oh, we did a bunch of tours, this is gonna be what you guys need. Cause the EPA failed it, cause there's no other options, we can't retrofit the old plant, there's no other option besides ripping it out and starting over new, is what you're telling me.
And that is a fact, yes,
Okay.
yeah, it's,
I could say that part's already been kind of worked on for the last couple of years, because when came on with this administration, that was one of my questions, what can we do with our current wastewater treatment plant? And we started looking at a lot of details there, and that was my first questions I was asking a lot. What can we do? What can we salvage? What can still be done? And the amount of money that we have to dump into everything, I don't even know if there's a piece of equipment we haven't put in a major investment into. The digester broke so far in the last 3 years. What's the thing with the big arms? What's that called?
Clarifier, or the trickling filter.
The trickling filter, that's broken twice now. The chains in the tanks actually pulled away from the cement wall because the cement wall is crumbling apart. I mean, there's just so much money that we've had to dump in just to keep it operational right now. There's really not a way to survive that. But to answer your question about a lot of things, so I have only been in a few of the meetings because a lot of times when they get into the technical stuff, you know, it's above me. But one of the things that made me happy to hear about is that they considered some of the major ones. And one of the questions I'd always ask is, well, what is the cost of, is there one cheaper than the other? And it says, well, if you compare these top 5 types, there's really no cost difference. So I said, okay, well then what's the advantages? And the next piece of the equipment, I don't know if you're gonna touch on this, was that there was one in particular that had the least moving parts. And then talking with Tess, and they're like, that's the one we're more interested in then, because all these moving parts over time tend to fail and break. So I don't know if you're gonna, I'm trying not to steal thunder here, but I think, would you come up with, was it Aeromod or something like that?
No, it's called extended aeration.
Extended aeration, that's the
Yeah.
one we're looking at.
Yeah, yeah. And it's basically, it's the simplest. And it's a very good, reliable plant.
And so the reason we failed is because we always overflowed and all that kind of stuff, correct? And a
So-
lagoon would have never stopped that from happening in a rainstorm, or why was that never even looked at?
Well, the other question I think came up is where would we put the lagoon? Where would you put some, I don't even want to use the word lagoon, because isn't there called something different or something like that?
We can get all technical, but we're on the same page here.
Well, I guess there's different ones, because Spring Valley did something, and that's, I don't, yeah, they're all different names and stuff, but I guess the problem was all of our sewer lines come already to, well, I won't steal your thunder, you tell me a little bit about that, I guess.
Yeah, they all come to that plant, yeah.
So that land we just bought just north of it, we're higher on the ground, those pipes don't go through there and it wouldn't be
No, so
a
my
lagoon
understanding.
option?
My understanding is because all the location's gonna come to the same location, which is relatively the same way, we can use even the hillside, or I'm not even sure how they're gonna design that part yet. But that's where the plant will go. Where the existing plant is, after it's operational, that can be modified into like a lagoon type thing. So that way, if we ever have excess that the plant can't produce or can't complete because of penetrations or infiltrations, then there'll be like a storage facility there to where you can process it.
So how often will that happen then, since we're putting in this brand new plant? We shouldn't have overflows, right? But we're gonna put a lagoon in just in case, is that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And it's perfectly, I mean, that's an acceptable design to the EPA, that you're.
It sounds like we're just flipping them, so we're going from one plant down the hill, lagoon on top to, but I guess we're so obsolete that we can't retrofit what we have
It's-
now.
Yeah, I mean, it's kinda like a car that's got 400,000 miles on it. I mean, can you fix it? Yeah, you can fix anything, but at some point, you say, why do we keep fixing this thing? And I think that's where you are as a community. Again, that plant's probably 40 or 50 years old, and so that would be my take on it.
One of the reasons I'm excited that we have the land around it now is that we can put the plant on those other spots, because the lowest spot is where the plant is at now. One of the concerns was if we couldn't get that land, we were gonna have to go like somewhere in the back of Lehigh, and it was gonna be like $300,000-$400,000 just to pipe the material away, because that's where everything comes to. So now, the fact that we're at the point where the lowest point is, you can put the new plant somewhere else, and then now that lagoon area where everything goes, that's an option now. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been an option. I mean, I'm not happy with spending this amount of money either, but
I just hope we looked at the other options, is what I'm saying, because I feel like we walked in saying, oh, we're gonna build a new plant, because this is garbage, not even gonna look at it. That's how I feel like this whole situation went. And when we started looking at the dollar signs, I understand why everyone felt that way, but
I'm not sure why you.
that's my personal.
I'm not
Because
sure why
we
you-
never talked about retrofitting, we never talked about other options, all I heard is we need a new plant now. And the EPA needs a new plant now. That's pretty much how I've heard this whole situation, so. I don't think there's really any other investigation besides building a new plant.
I don't know how to answer that, because there was talks about different things. I'm trying to think what was publicly, I know that you
So
were,
what was the price comparison for retrofitting?
I don't even think it was an option, because
I
it
don't
was,
think it was an option,
it
Tom.
was, it's like the same amount of cost, if not more. It would have been more to try to retrofit because you have to redo the entire plant of everything, and then there's no place to put a lagoon-type option in the first place. So it wasn't even an option.
The EPA has pretty much dictated, you need to build a new plant.
So why 10 years before this was that a conversation and I just missed it, or why would it just come up all of a sudden?
In the years that I've been here, at several meetings with the EPA, and they were insistent that this move forward, and we went back and forth about these dates, because they don't want you dumping excess flows into the Vermillion
Into the
River.
Vermillion River.
And they're gonna start fining you if you don't do something about
I
it.
understand that, but
So this
I
was
feel like there's
a
other ways to
decision that
control
was
that.
made, honestly, Tom, before I was here, but the EPA's been very heavy-handed about it. They want this to move forward on a timeline, which is why this was all negotiated and put into an order that's enforceable by the court.
And we were able to negotiate, because I can't remember what the original one, but they wanted a much faster timeline initially. And then we were able to hit them with facts and figures and what we have going on, the fact that we have been taking actions with trying to reduce penetrations already throughout the city and stuff, and then they gave us a much longer timeframe. Again, this was signed in September of last year, but I think we were negotiating it as far as April, back and forth. So, I mean, it's like a 7-year lead time on this. So I was pretty happy that we were able to negotiate that. And that's why I asked them to do a presentation, because this is probably the largest purchase the city's ever done in its history. And it's gonna not only do our administration, but the entire next one, and even part of the one after that. That's why it's kind of a big deal. So if people got questions, I'm all for
it
answering
just
questions.
amazed me that test took over and then we failed, and now we're building a new plant. That timeline is pretty short-lived, I thought, but
Well,
that's why I have a real issue with all of that. 'Cause
Well-
as soon as they
well,
came, "Oh, we're
the
failing."
letters from the EPA was saying, you get it fixed, or we'll fine you.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't wanna say something that'll hold me liable something, so if I'm about to say something, attorney, you can please tell me to stop.
I'll wrap it.
So, I'll say this, the thing you make out, for that was, it is interesting. As soon as Tess took over for the city, and they're doing all the things that they're legally required to do, right? Make reports, all of a sudden, we're reporting that we're overflowed. It is amazing that the moment Tess got on board, all of a sudden now, the city is now first time in violation of dumping things to the Vermillion River. Apparently, before they got here, at least that was never recorded, that ever happened, because we had a different water operator that had a different license, who no longer works for the city. So I'll leave it like that.
Okay.
All right, moving on.
Don?
Sir. Okay. So where we are is, and as a team, we are ready to begin the design and the permitting, so we're ready to go with it. As we've talked about before, based on the size of your plant, you would expect construction costs somewhere between 13 and 18 million this year. And so we're saying we're targeting 15. And that's what we've been talking about all along here. Obviously, we will build the plant with capacity for development. And also, another thing that we make a significant effort is to make it easy to expand. There's different things you can do when you're building and designing a plant that can make it so, okay, it's a very simple thing to add on to this plant. And so can save you money in the future. Hopefully, you see some industry come in and see some development, and that can be a lot simpler if we've thought about that ahead of time. The other thing too is that we will try to be anticipating, with the EPA, of course, they're sort of a moving target. Their standards, what they expect us to do is constantly changing and constantly tightening. So another thing that we want to try to do is make sure that the plant is positioned so that some of the things we think are coming down the road, again, we'll be in a good position to actually make those improvements, that they're not going to be some really expensive addition that should have been thought about when it was being designed. After the new plant is online and operational, then the old plant that's there is going to be demolished, and we will build an excess flow storage lagoon over that area where the current plant is now. And although we've made, and you have as a city, you've made great progress by separating sewers and getting the storm sewers separated from the sanitary sewers. We still see pretty high increases every time it rains, what goes down to the treatment plant. So we can put in a lagoon like that, locate that, and after the storm, basically you put all that excess flow that's coming down into that lagoon, and then after the storm, then you can slowly lead it back through your plant. And so that'll be a part of the design as well. And then that plant, especially that technology, I think it's gonna be very reliable, and I think it will last the city, like your last one lasted a lot of years, and I think this one will too. So. Anything else I can try to answer?
Only one thing on there, I noticed the timeline, you did a truncated timeline that just talked about the big points, but there is another one that I think is important there. It's between the completion of design and permitting and commence construction. I don't know offhand if it's in 2025 or when it is, but there is a deadline of when we have to secure funding. And so that gives us, it might even be 2026, I'm not sure which number that is, but it gives us like 3-4 years to secure the funding. And that's one of the reasons I want to make sure that we are ready, that we've got our permitting done, everything ready to go, because as we've learned with the Rebuild Illinois grant, if we would have had all permitted and ready to rock with that one, we would have been on the fast track program instead of 2 years into a wait for this project that we got going now. So I'd like us to be ready to see if we can get a grant for something like this. And getting it done as soon as we can with a longer time frame will put us in a better situation to have that happen.
What percentage of those grants got handed out to people that were far ahead of us? 30% of them get, well, who qualified? out of all the-
What grants are you talking about?
So all the people that applied for this Build Illinois, that if we had all our permits done, what percentage of those people got the grant out of everyone that applied? Do you have
That I
any
don't know.
idea?
It said for the.
Because I still don't believe it's that high, so that's
Well,
why
for the
I'm bringing
version
it up.
we're in, there's over 350 applicants for the version we're in. I don't know how many, on the website, it doesn't say how many people applied for I think it's called Fast Track. Or, Shovel Ready programs. I know that they've already been paid out. I don't know how many got selected out of how many applicants, though, that I don't know.
Because I'm not banking on Illinois again. I don't know why we always bring that up, like they're gonna come save us, because they never do.
I didn't say save us, but I mean, if you look at, I mean, I'm gonna talk about in our things today, we got our Safe Route to School grant. I mean, it came through. I know what you're thinking. You think
We
about
ain't
the,
got the check.
yeah, exactly. You think about the fire hydrants, exactly. Fire hydrants came in June or July of 2019, and we're still waiting to get those paid out yet. So, I don't know, will that change the timeline if this happens?
No.
If we get a grant, and all of a sudden we come back to the EPA and we say, hey, we got a grant, but we're waiting for the check, does that give us a new timeline? I don't know.
I would say it would.
But I would want to put us in a position for that to happen.
We gotta be in a position to get the plant built within what the EPA expects us to, or otherwise, it's gonna cost us more money.
Yeah, what were some of the fines if we didn't comply? What was I thought I heard it was like 25,000 a month or something crazy.
Per day is what they threaten.
Yeah.
How often does that happen? Another question I have.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to really
What, they
get
gotta put
do you really want to
municipalities
get in a
on
conversation with that across the table from them going, are you really going to find us?
More often than not.
If they're in the office, yeah.
Okay, anything else?
I have some questions, so.
Okay.
I see that you're gonna build a 879,000 gallon per plant per day, right? Or what are we currently using?
The state bases your flow on your low flow months, okay?
Okay.
And it makes some sense. They're saying, how much sewage are you actually treating? Well, you don't know that until it hasn't rained for a while. And then you actually know how much your sewage is going. I think you run about 400,000 in low months. So the actual amount of sewage that's getting down there is about 400,000 gallons a day. And that's what the state looks at. So we're at about half capacity right now.
So,
Except when it rains.
but we have an
Right.
overflow pond now.
Did you want to talk about that?
Lagoon, whatever that's called.
There is some details about that because there's also a second stat that has the max flow. And if you remember right, they had us registered as wrong, which put us in a different category.
Yeah.
Remember? Because our max flow was over like 1 point,
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah. So hopefully we got that straightened out with them.
Yeah, so
Their records were wrong.
Yeah, so when you say about, the other thing is, this gives us the capability to expand, because I can't remember, what is the expansion up to before you get into a completely different class with under different rules?
It's 1 million gallons.
1 million. So we have room for expansion to, this thing's really loud, to expand into a couple more capacities before we get to the category of where it's a completely different license for a plant.
So what's our current GPD for our plant right now?
GPD? In other words, how many?
How much can we
Whatever the
process?
GPD mean, I'm going off this number that, for me, it's imaginary, but I'm guessing that's how we're gonna base all these numbers off of, so that's why I'm asking about the GPD.
And is it 879?
Yes.
Yeah, that is the rated capacity of your plant right now, as far as the EPA is concerned.
So our current plant does that, or is this our new plant?
Well,
Both?
Yeah, I would say both.
Okay.
Again, if you're at 400,000, obviously, if we design it for 879, you're only at half capacity. And remember, again, Tom, if we push over the million right now, if we push over the million, it pushes you into a whole different category, all different standards, a lot more expensive licensing. So what I would plan to do is actually to plan in more capacity than what I'm telling the EPA that we're doing. In other words, we tell them we want it, we are an 879, fine. And as long as we can show them that we meet all their standards at 879, they're fine. If we could be looking at going, actually, we could take 1 million, then we're in a position where maybe we could expand up to 990,000, have a little more capacity there without actually having to do any kind of equipment improvements.
So how big would the city have to grow before we expand this plant currently?
That's more a function of industry, I would hope.
Because right now, we don't have any flex capacity because there is no lagoon. So even though we can process a certain amount, anytime that basically anytime it rains heavily, past like a light rain, and we get penetrations throughout the system, we're overflowing to the Vermilion, which puts us in violation.
We're gonna have this new awesome retention pond lagoon, whatever it's called, so that should cover that, right? So then my
That is the
question
hope.
comes back to, how big does the city have to double before we have to expand? What,
Well, theoretically, you would say, yes, if right now the city as it is, if you're at 400,000 gallons a day, and you got a plant that could do 879, then yeah, do the math, it's like, yeah, so the city could be twice as large.
I think I understand what you're asking. You're asking, if we have a lagoon with flexibility, why do we need to be up to 879,000?
Yes.
That,
that's
okay.
100% correct.
Okay, that's a good
Unless we
question.
see the city doubling in the next 30 years, which, unless the whole moving to the city thing doesn't happen, I have that hard to believe, so.
Well, I look at it this way, is you always want to be better than what you had before. Now, we're already at 879,000 plants, so this isn't actually making our plant process any better. It's making it more efficient, making it actually function where it doesn't break down every day, I shouldn't say every day. Every 6 months, I'm having to stick $15,000 to $20,000 of equipment into the thing. And then the other thing is, we don't have the lagoon. The lagoon option is not even an option right now to where the plant is located. So that would have resolved that problem.
Okay. No further discussion?
I have one more, sorry, Mayor, but I am looking at this compensation for engineering services during the design phase. So we don't get this discount for the whole project, it's based on each individual section, so we don't get the 5.4% fee for everything. It depends on construction, design, that's all separated out for our overall fee.
Well, what you're looking at is that chart with the declining percentages.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Pages at a time.
you're a
13.
businessman. If you do a small project, you can do twice the size project and it doesn't take twice the work on your part. So that percentage is constantly dropping as the cost of the project goes up.
Hang on, let me go through all these papers here. Yeah, well, no, I'm saying design, it's 5.7, construction 6%, so you're breaking it down for each phase, we pay separately?
Yes, yeah, and
There's no way we can negotiate that by chance, no? We're kind of stuck now, you're right, but I'm
Yeah,
just
well,
asking, because I
yeah.
think that should be one overall construction project is how I would look at it, so.
yeah, That, I would tell you, that, I mean, that's industry standard, is that design is one price and then construction's another.
And then this fee schedule's comparable to
Yes.
the rest of you?
Yes.
Man, should have been an engineer. Alrighty, I think I'm out of questions, Mayor.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
No further questions? Thank you for the presentation. Next on the agenda is approve the engineering agreement for the new wastewater treatment plant, WWTP.
Pending no,
I just
Additional-
want to make one statement. So 6 months ago is when we should have looked for competing engineering bids, or a year ago, because now we're kind of locked in with Chamlin's, correct?
did you have a better engineering for, I mean, we're
I
about to
I
approve-
didn't know we were going to spend 2 million on it, or I would have
You
brought it
didn't,
up
you
9 months ago.
didn't know we were gonna get a $15 million plant that we talked about
I didn't
3
know
years ago?
Chamlin's was going to charge us 2 million, no. That was,
Well, again,
any detail I must
if
have
that's the
missed.
engineering standard, that's the engineering standard. There was 2 engineering firms that we used to work with the city, and Chamlin's did absorb the other one, which is advantageous for them, but it doesn't mean that I don't think they're a bad company or anything like that. So, but I understand what you're saying. I mean, unless you're gonna hold off on this, we do have to have something, according to EPA standards, we have to have something in place by June.
I know we're locked in now, I'm just asking a question.
Keep in mind, some of these costs, that's another thing maybe I should have had him follow up on. Some of these costs, small amounts of them, are already completed because a lot of pre-work was done already. Because I wanted to make sure that we were getting the right land. We need to know what kind of land could we get. You know, if I didn't have an engineering firm to work with, I wouldn't have been able to know that behind Lehigh was an option that was gonna cost us $300,000-$400,000 to pump there. I didn't know that we could still do something on the land. We were trying to get the land at the old Lehigh cement location for about 1.5 years, and that didn't work out. So we needed an engineering firm to work with us to be able to find out what we could even look for.
Okay.
So, good questions though, all good questions. But if there's no other further questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve the engineering agreement for the new wastewater treatment plant.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Next is declare the week of May 21st to 27th, 2022 Safe Boating Week.
I will make a motion to declare the week of May 21st to the 27th, 2022 Safe Boating Week.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Next is approve 1192-041822, an ordinance modifying the terms of employment for the Oglesby Assistant Chief of Police.
Anybody have any questions on that before I make a motion to move forward? I'll make a motion, we approve 1192-041822, an ordinance modifying the terms of employment for the Oglesby Assistant Chief of Police.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Next is approve 1193-050222, an ordinance approving the final plan of the Curtin subdivision in Oglesby, Illinois, LaSalle County.
Now, we put this on file last meeting, but just to follow up what it is, again, it's the area that is south of Porter Street. It's the alley that right now residents are using from Columbia into the alley that's technically wasn't part of city property. This is what's gonna allow us to get that paved and having people not crossing private property anymore. Any questions or comments on that? I'd like to make a motion to approve 1193-050222, an ordinance approving the final plat of the Curtin subdivision in Oglesby, Illinois, LaSalle County.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Next is approve 04182022R, resolution for maintenance under the Illinois Highway Code using motor fuel funds.
So we did place this on file last meeting, and one correction that was brought to my attention is technically it is two separate resolutions. Even though the total cost is for $233,400 $59.08. $155,000 of that is done via motor fuel tax funds, and $83,280.60 is done through RBI funds. So they're technically two separate resolutions, and they both were placed on file. But unless anybody's got any questions on those, I was gonna make them separate as two separate motions. I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 04182022R, resolution for maintenance under the Illinois Highway Code using motor fuel funds.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
Kern.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye.
And then I'd like to make a motion to approve 04182022R1, resolution for maintenance under the Illinois Highway Code using motor fuel funds.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
Kern.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Next, approve 050222R1, resolution of the City of Oglesby, LaSalle County, Illinois, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Oglesby, LaSalle County, Illinois, and Illinois Valley Community College to establish a school resource officer program.
I would just like to make one comment. Health insurance and pension are flat for the next 3 years, which our pension is built to keep rising, and our health insurance will definitely keep rising for the next 2 years. That's all I wanted to state, so everyone knows that before we agree to keep that flat for the next 2 years.
How much of a concern do you think that is? Because I know one of the things we were close to approving before, we didn't have included in there the payment for the school options to go for the training for this, and we didn't have in there for the vehicle. And I think that's been rectified now. So if there's a concern about the pension, or not the pension, but the insurance, how much of a concern is that?
Well, and Tom, you should know the table set forth in there are anticipated costs.
Oh, okay.
The ordinance itself actually requires the college to reimburse you for actual costs on a monthly basis.
Oh.
So
All right, I'm done asking questions. I know that, so we're good.
I will make a motion, we approve 050222R1, resolution of the City of Oglesby, LaSalle County, Illinois, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Oglesby, LaSalle County, Illinois, and Illinois Valley Community College to establish a school resource officer program.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
Kern.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Next, approve the purchase of a small bucket truck for the city of, for the Oglesby Electric Department.
We put this on file last meeting. Commissioner Arnbright did have a couple of good questions, and I have those answers now. So all the bucket trucks we have currently are by Altech, and we do have an inspection program that comes through Altech. So my question was, because now we're looking to get a Runyon, if that's gonna be a concern, and the answer I got was no, it's not. So Altech, even though it might not be their equipment, they are authorized to come and do testing on the booms, the boom. The weird thing about it, though, that I did want to point out that I thought was interesting is, so I looked at the inspections from last year, and this truck passed an inspection for the boom. But if you look at the actual write-up of all the items, had missing equipment, replaced, damaged, inoperable for all these things, and my question was, how is that possible that it passes? Apparently, the test that they do is just on the electrical connections to operate the boom. It has nothing to do with the rubber hoses and the hydraulics and all that stuff, which is fascinatingly interesting to me. But, so, yes, Altech contract we have that comes and does the safety inspection will still cover for this new equipment. Any other questions on that?
No, I'm just gonna tell you why I'm voting no, and it's because when I was the electrical commissioner, the bucket, whatever one you guys wanna call it, was supposed to replace this, and at that point, we were supposed to get rid of this truck. And the reason we kept it was so the Parks Department could hang signs and lights and all that kind of stuff. And now we're going to get a new one. And this is before you were on there. I'm not going to, I'm just letting you know why I'm
No,
voting
that's,
no.
I appreciate that. So
So-
you're telling me they told you that the giant ones with the giant booms
Whatever one,
were
the
supposed
newest
to
one
be?
is, yes.
That material handler is a good truck.
It is.
Almost eliminates a third man on a job. Two of them can go out and change transformers.
I was literally told that was replacing.
Well, if I've got bad information, I don't have
No.
I don't have a problem tabling something to
No.
get to an answer for that.
This was before, any of that department was here either, I have a feeling, so it's okay.
Was that before our current
Yes,
superintendent was?
yes.
Oh, well, okay.
So,
All right. In that case, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a new small bucket truck for the Oglesby Electric Department at a cost of $149,709.
Second.
Albright,
No.
Cullinan,
Aye.
Curran,
Aye.
Udis,
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Next on the agenda is authorize Junk Be Gone to clean up the property located at 314 California Avenue. See, clean up that property. It's a mess down there to help get it in shape.
And it's my understanding, Don, that it's gonna be not the inside of the building, but he's gonna clean up the outside.
Outside.
With scrap and
Outside.
whatnot.
So I did drive by it today to look at it. I mean, it is
It needs to be cleaned.
It is pretty terrible.
bad.
Is he actually gonna take everything out of there, or is he just gonna rummage through to,
No, he's gonna
Clean it
remove
all.
it. I think there's some vehicles down there. I don't know if we can let him have those vehicles because that's what title.
okay?
So the city would have to, but he's gonna clean that up for us.
Just impound them.
So is your understanding though that he's taking he's not just gonna rummage through and take the goods and
No,
leave
no,
junk
he's
everywhere?
gonna clean it up.
I'm good with that then.
Yeah.
My only is liability insurance.
Does have it.
Okay. My only question.
I'll make a motion, we authorize Junk Be Gone to clean up the property located at 314 California Avenue.
Second.
Albright,
Aye.
Cullinan,
Aye.
Curran,
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Next on the agenda is approved street closure request from Bulldogs Park. What I've got here is request from City of Oglesby allow the closure of Glen Avenue to Walnut Street to the alley south on the following dates. 2 in May, there's 3 in June, 3 in July, and the streets will be cleared and ready to open by 12 midnight. Rich Baldridge. Discussion.
What's past practice on this?
We have allowed, some closures on Glen Avenue. We've, have allowed, even for special events on Walnut Street. I'll tell you what concerns me about this. We've got 8 dates for closures. What am I gonna be hit with the other bars? I would hope, I would suggest we table it. And hopefully the bar owners can get together so we can spread it out. Everybody gets treated fairly and equally. Have them come with a proposal to us, and then we can take a look at it. But I know what happens if I do it for Bulldogs. I'm gonna have somebody down the other end say, hey, what about me? You let him close the streets. I just would hope that the bar owners could get together and come up with a plan. I'm willing to work with you, and I'll meet you halfway. But if we get into this type of stuff, I believe we're gonna have, well, you're treating him better than you are treating me, and that's what I'd like to stay away from.
So in regards to past practices, my understanding, I think there's been a total of 3 times that we've closed the street off. One was for all of Walnut, that was for a Cops for Cancer thing where a lot of bars were involved, putting it on and stuff like that. This one particular street, I think we've done twice. And at that time, one of the questions I know I posed was, hey, what if this comes up about what do we need to do with this? How often should we be doing that? I don't think it ever got answered. So I would think that would be a great thing to talk about at our next special meeting that we have, to talk about things like that, because that is a great question. When I see in here, somebody has a request for 8 of them in a year, that's a big difference between one, because there's a cost to the city for that, you know? So the city employees have to go and put the barricades up and things like that too, so I think it'd be a good thing to talk about. Okay.
Well, let me, you know, the other thing that I have to consider is the residents in that area. Where are we gonna be at? So what I'm asking you, and what I'd prefer to have the council do tonight, is to table it. You guys get together, how can we make this work? That's all I'm asking. And I just asking to work with us, meet us halfway, so we can make this a success. I know we've got some things planned, throughout the summer, the city has. But I'm just trying to look at it, will be fair, and I don't get myself, locked into a box and saying, hey, you gave this an 8, I want 7 over here. Come and try to meet us halfway and work with us. Okay?
I have something to say. Why don't you give him his first one, and then next month the bar owners come back and figure out what's the time limit and how many you can do.
Well, I'm sure, just a second, sir. We have public comments. Go to the mic and do that. Come up with a plan for me. I'm sure a lot of this requires a lot of planning and expense for bands. I'm not looking to, cause them any heartbreak. I want every bar to be successful. Because if they're successful, I am. So if I can have a motion and second to table at the next meeting, maybe we can get something worked out.
Don, when is their first event that they requested?
May 21st. May 21st, May 28th, June 4, 11, and 25, July 16, 23, and 30.
Okay. I'm just trying to think. We're gonna have a special meeting coming up, probably. We look
Well,
at it maybe
hopefully, we
this coming
can get
Monday.
that scheduled.
This next Monday, maybe?
I'm available next Monday.
Well, I think that's number 19, but
What's that?
I think
I
that's number
just see if
19
the
to schedule it.
attorney's available.
Yeah, I have a meeting on Tuesday, but I'd probably be available on Monday.
I just don't wanna see them lose anything out of pocket for something that maybe they thought was
I
gonna move
understand.
forward. But I would like to discuss it more, I just don't want, I want it to be a win-win for everybody.
That's what I'm looking to do.
Could there be a letter sent out to the bar owners telling them that we're gonna have this meeting and maybe they should come?
We can put
At least notify them that they've been given notice. you know.
I'm sure word will travel fast and we will
Oh, yeah.
send something, emails or a letter out, I'm sure by, 7:47, 48, they'll be notified, they'll know. Next Monday.
I'll- The ninth?
My son's got a track meet that night, but I can try to make it.
Tell them to run really fast.
So what time do you wanna do the liquor at 6:30 and gaming at 7:30?
Well, it'd be all in the same meeting, right?
I have a feeling they'll be here for both of those, so.
What's that?
Feeling the bar owners will be there for both of them, so I think they
I'm
can be
sure
back
that
to
they will.
back, yeah. Just gonna go out on a limb here.
7 o'clock?
I'll
The
take as
9th
late,
at 7.
I'll take as late as you give me.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we table the street closure request from Bulldog's Door, or Bar, and, talk about it at the special meeting on the
Second.
9th.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. found that I have erred in the facade committee, and I need approval to change the facade committee members. I need to remove Tom Augubright and Dan Gregorich. And I need to replace them with Dom Rivera and Amy Itutis, because that's what the ordinance says we have to have.
Well, I will make a motion to approve the change to the facade committee members.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Next is discuss lateral transfers for the Oglesby Police Department.
As you guys are aware, the people who want to test to be a police officer nowadays is dwindling down, and we're getting very few people test for us. Some of the departments around here have been going to what's called a lateral transfer, and what that is if you're a full-time member of another police department, you can go through the interview process, and you have two lists that run side by side. Your lateral transfer list, and then you have your other new hire list. And the way I understand it is you'd be able to choose from either of those lists who you want as your next candidate. It's really a win-win for the city as far as I'm concerned. It increases our number, our talent pool. We don't have to pay for their training because they're already coming in trained. The way it works is they would move over on years of service for pay purposes, but as they enter into the department, they will be zero seniority. So they'll start off as a first or as a new hire, and they'll be on probation for that first year, and then they start to build their years of service after that for certain purposes within the police department. So that way you don't get somebody coming over on a lateral who is testing for sergeant and taking it from a guy who's been there for 10 years or something. They have to start from the bottom just like anybody else. I would have to meet with the FOP to get their approval on this, is the way I understand the process works. I've been working with Pat a little bit on trying to establish this program. But before I went any further, and especially with meeting with the FOP, I wanted to make sure I had the council's blessing to move forward with this and try to implement it.
So do the people that are currently officers not get like bonus points on the tests? Is that why we have two different ones on?
Yeah, the only thing you
Okay.
can really, the way I understand it, the only way you can really give preference points is with military service.
Okay.
I know we've been talking about this for a while, and the one thing I don't understand is, I don't understand what negative drawback there is. I know, in my opinion, there has to be some kind of negative drawback, otherwise everybody would be doing it.
Well, it's not it's hard for somebody to go, let's say they put 8 years on with Putnam County, and they wanna come over here because we have a better pay scale. They're still rolling the dice, cause they're going back to a probationary year that first year, and they could lose your job because they don't like the color of your hair.
Oh, no, I understand, I
So
understand.
there is a risk involved.
I understand the issues with the police officers, why they might not use it. What I'm curious about is why would we not want to adopt this policy?
You tell me why, because I don't see really a losing angle to it.
I always, when I see that though, it always makes me go, why wouldn't we have already adopted it if there's no drawback at all? You know?
Because it's something that you're seeing new to this area, Jason. I know other larger cities have done it, especially out of state. But as far as the Illinois Valley area, Ottawa kind of started this, and now they've had, I know at least 2 really good police officers from other departments leave to come to them. The only thing that's a little bit tricky, and it's really nothing to us, is with the pension. So they'd have to be in the same pension system because they'd have to buy into our pension. So let's say they put in 8 years at Putnam County, and let's say their salary there is, just throwing out a number, $60,000, and they're coming here and it's $70,000 or whatever. They're gonna have to go through a formula through the downstate pension fund in order to buy back to where they're at for their years of service. So they might have to write out a check for $30,000 to the pension fund to make them whole. And there is a formula for that. I just don't know what it is off the top of my head.
That should be going away. They're still merging the police pensions, correct? That's still
Yes.
gonna happen, I hope, sometime, so,
I think it's a win-win.
yeah, I don't know.
So
Yeah,
have your
sure.
blessing to move forward with it?
Yes.
It's a good deal.
All right, I will meet with FOP next and hear out their concerns and let you guys know where it goes.
Okay. Since we've already established our meeting dates for the next meeting on May 9th, we'll move on to old business.
I think somebody should make a motion now and second it to approve that meeting, that special meeting date.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting, special meeting on May 9th at 7 PM.
Second.
Algebrite,
Abstain.
Cullinan,
Aye.
Curran,
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Old business. Public comments.
Well, okay. Greg Steino with me. First of all, the May 9th, is that a working meeting for closing the streets for Bulldogs and other bars and the gaming on the agenda that you,
We'll put it on the agenda. Greg?
All working meetings are special meetings. We just call them working meetings because we're going over a lot of topics, but they're technically all special meetings.
okay, well, I had a picture pulled up and I lost the agenda. So you skipped over an agenda and already made a May 9th meeting to be, is that for the
It's a s-
gaming rules? The gaming rules changed.
That probably will be on the agenda. It'll be on the agenda.
Okay, all right. And then as far as Bulldogs, I was floored that the terminology on the agenda for the street closure sounded like one date. It turns out to be 8. I kind of object to the number, all right? And I'm not sure if you want to prioritize what dates would be your most favored days. And then I have a picture for my other question. I'm probably gonna show it to Jason, because it's just this little thing here. Is that the property that you're gonna put the sewer treatment plant on?
That is not that is the property that we acquired. The location of where the home is, what they're talking about doing is that they're looking to put that for the, correct me if I'm wrong, it's gonna be the control facility, like where the test facility and stuff is when they tear the house down? Yes. That is part of the property.
Is it going to be rezoned from residential to industrial property?
No,
No?
the city doesn't have to rezone property for its own use.
Okay. All right, that's it then.
Rich?
In response to a couple of the comments here, one, I'd like a total of what it costs the city. I believe it was about 4 years ago, I don't have it in my notes. We paid $25,000 for a guy and his wife to come and stay in Peru, walk through our downtown and give us suggestions on what to do in town. At that time, one of the suggestions were to have live outside music. I don't see anything that's been implemented from that guy for that $25,000 in his stay in Peru of our taxpayers' dollars. I don't see anything that's gone to do that stuff. He gave a number of suggestions and they haven't. Things that I remember, I don't see them happening anywhere. As far as the objection to the amount of days, where do you have them at? Like, when what other bars are able to close down that side street? It's right there. My driveway pulls out. There's no other driveways on there. There's no other front doors on that road. There's a beautiful alleyway that goes through there with brand new blacktop down the entire thing. It's not causing anybody to do, I mean, maybe you gotta make a turn before that or after that, but it's really not a big deal. I don't think, if I had a turn, I just don't understand it, it's causing all these problems. If it is, we won't have any, that's fine, we just won't have anything at all. If it's causing these problems, I wasn't aware of that. I was trying to help out the community and do something different here, and, seems like,
I don't think it's a problem. I think that what the mayor's saying, he wants everybody on board, you know, and I can't see somebody not allowing it, because if they wanted it, we'll give it to them too. But I think that, like I said, they should all be informed and, you know, we look forward to their input, just so that they're all on the same page with us.
I've not,
Yeah.
to the best of my knowledge, I've never had a complaint.
No,
Did you guys
no,
have
I don't
any
think so either. Everything's always been good and we never had any problems and that road, I mean, unless it's ball games, is it used a lot? And you're talking on a weekend, I don't know if there's ball games or not, but, I think, you know, everybody should, that does want something to do with it, should show up or voice their opinion. I don't think anybody's gonna be against it.
This subject probably should be talked about at our next special meeting when all the bars are here, but
Right.
since you brought it up, a couple comments on some of the things you did say. One of the questions, concern I have is when you talk about the things that was put in, now, the 25,000 that was spent, that was the last administration. And if you remember right, one of the recommendations they had was $400,000, I don't want to say water park, splash pad. It grew to 800,000, then 900,000, then 1.2 million, then finally 1.5 million. This administration put the kibosh on that. Now, it is, granted, it has taken us 2.5 years to put $40,000 into Seneca Square as it is, but I do believe that is one of the things. I'm excited about Seneca Square, where I know we're gonna be one of the plans this year. I don't know if it's been announced yet, so I hope I'm not jumping the gun, but I know we're doing a food truck day, vendor for that. The live band events that we have for Boots and Brews, Seneca Square wasn't ready yet, so we had to have it in the parking lot, so that's an event there. I'm hoping that there's gonna be more types of smaller type events that we can use Seneca Square for. So I believe money has been set aside for events like that. Now, as far as some of the concerns I had is your first request you put in, you actually put in 2 requests. Your first request that was put in was to shut Walnut down 8 times a year. What's that?
That was a mistake.
Okay, so when I saw that, I went, whoa, that's a concern, because shutting down Walnut and don't get me wrong, I am all for, I've been to some of the events that you've had there, and I think they're fantastic. They are fantastic, they're enjoyable, you get people to come in and stuff like that, you can have a beer outside, listen to music, it's great. However, if you were to shut down Walnut or impede Walnut, the help that it does for your business can impede other businesses. So now that the request was modified to where it's just the side street, okay, that removes that problem. The other problem still arrives is, I think it's great to have the event, but then does it upset the residents that are there? Is that a factor? Is 8 times a year too much? I don't know.
Would it be better if I walked through the neighborhood and get a petition?
It's a great question. I don't know. I know when this came up, when we approved the last ones, one of the questions I had was, hey, we should probably talk about how often we should approve something like this. Because like the mayor's saying, I think he's got a very valid point. What happens if we approve your 8 and everybody's happy? And then another bar comes that doesn't have access to a side street and says, hey, you're doing it for one business, how come you're not helping out me? I need you to shut down Columbia. I need you to shut down Walnut for me to have the same economic opportunity. That's when it becomes a problem. So that's why I think these are great conversations to have about it, because I think everybody here is at the age where we like to petition these types, or go to these types of things and enjoy them, and I don't think anybody's against that. We just want to make sure that we're fair for everybody.
I feel the main streets should be not closed down unless it's gotta be something.
Well, that's why the one time we did it that I know of was for the Cops for Cancer, and it wasn't just one bar sponsoring, it was it all of them? It might have even been all of them for all I know, but it was a fantastic thing. But yeah, if we were to shut down Walnut for one business to be able to make profit, that could be a problem, so.
I believe Glen Street is the circle around to Gandolfi Ball Field, you know, down, so, I don't know how much ball games are going on down there this summer.
Well, let's see if they can, hopefully everybody can work something out here. Okay, if we don't have any more, commissioner reports.
Have one more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good evening, council members and guest attendees. I'm here tonight to talk about something that happened at a couple previous council meetings about the appearance and attire of what is and isn't allowed in public in the city of Oglesby. A recent situation and ruling about an event that happened in an establishment in town led to concern from a few citizens and for the mayor at last meeting on the 18th of April to follow up on previous discussions about the nature of adult performers and what they shouldn't be allowed to wear. This in turn has caused concern for people in the LGBTQ community and their friends. Could they be in jeopardy simply for being themselves and dressing and appearing the way they feel if they were to be in town, at a restaurant, store, or simply walking down the street? So I went looking through some of the other ordinances in the city and discovered ordinance 916.010, indecent conduct. It is unlawful for any person to do any indecent or immoral act or to appear in any public place indecently or immorally dressed or in a dress not belonging to his or her sex, or to make any indecent exposure of his or her person. Now, to me, that reads that men can't wear women's clothing or fashion and women can't dress as men. Now, I'm assuming this law is completely ignored on Halloween. It's my belief that the city is putting themselves at risk in regard to discriminating against people who don't identify as heterosexual or at least look the part. A transgender individual born a man but now identifying as a woman couldn't wear a bra and a dress if done so tastefully. But a woman can wear tight jeans and a low-cut top, leaving little to the imagination, and be considered okay. And for the record, there's nothing wrong with the woman in that situation either. It's what she wants to wear. That's her choice. The city of Chicago had this rule back in 1978 when they convicted individuals for wearing clothing of the opposite sex, intentionally concealing their biological sex. They were arrested for wearing female clothing, makeup, hairstyles, including a dress, nylon stockings, heels, a wig, and fur coat. The case eventually made its way to the state Supreme Court, City of Chicago versus Wilson Supreme Court of Illinois, United States, May 26, 1978, and the state Supreme Court ruled on the side of the defendants. The notion that the state can regulate one's personal appearance unconfined by any constitutional strictures whatsoever is fundamentally inconsistent with values of privacy, self-identity, autonomy, personal integrity, and the Constitution was designed to protect all of that. If you're looking for something newer, how about June 15th, 2020, when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of defendants who were fired by their employer shortly after revealing that he or she is homosexual or transgender, and allegedly for no other reason other than the employee's homosexuality or transgender status. The court cited Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, commands that it is unlawful for an employer to fail or refuse to hire or to discharge any individual or otherwise to discriminate against any individual with respect to his compensation, terms, conditions, or privilege of employment because of such individual's race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of other ordinances on the books for Oglesby and other surrounding towns that are outdated and are not enforced. But at the last city council meeting, in regards to adult performances, the mayor stated, quote, "I understand what was acceptable in 1922 was different in 1952. What was acceptable in 1992 is not the same in 2021. He continued, bottom line is that entertainment dancers that strip to a G-string are in violation of the ordinance. From this date forward, should that occur, you will be cited. Now, if the city is choosing to uphold any old and outdated ordinances, then it's time to remove the line, dress not belonging to his or her sex, from Ordinance 91610. Otherwise, the council is putting the city at risk for a PR nightmare if someone from GLAAD or other large international organizations catch wind of what's going on. And furthermore, Chapter 592-020, definitions under adult use, which the mayor read from at the last meeting, which states adult entertainment cabaret means a public or private establishment which, one, features topless dancers, strippers, go-go dancers, male or female impersonators, lingerie, bathing suits, fashion shows, it goes on and on and on. My concern is with the male or female impersonators. What is wrong with that? It is possible for an impersonator to impersonate the opposite sex and put on a show without revealing specified anatomical areas or the intent to arouse. Now, if someone gets aroused, that's on them. Otherwise, that poor woman I referenced earlier, leaving little to the imagination, should start dressing like a nut. In closing, the city's website welcome banner on our social media page says, Oglesby, Illinois, where friends and rivers meet. I would love to see more people want to come here and meet friends, hang out, raise a family, and want to take part in turning Oglesby around. But for anyone who is gay or transgender, with laws and ordinances like this, why would they want to? That's all I got.
Sir, can I ask, when was that Oglesby ordinance drawn up? The one you first started out with?
I did not see that on the books, so,
I was just curious.
yeah.
Thank you for your comments. Could I have a copy, because I can't write as fast as you read,
Sure, yeah.
if you would. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioners' reports. Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a
my house is right there where this dilapidated property is. How close is the sewage plant coming to my property?
Are you the one that called me over the last weekend? So the plant itself is not going to be where that house is. That portion there, right now, granted, the design is not completed.
Okay.
But my understanding is because there's already like water connections and there's already a foundation that's there and everything like that, that is where like the offices and the control facility and that kind of stuff will be. The sewage treatment plant down is gonna be down next to where the current one is, maybe even up on the hillside a little bit. to
And
where the-
what hillside, towards Florence?
Towards, probably toward, again, the design is not completed yet. I want to stress that first, the design is not completed, but my understanding what they're looking at is perhaps on the hillside, because then you can start using natural flow as part of the design process. Where the current thing is on this, where the plant is now currently at the lowest level, that's where the lagoon is looking to go. So the plant itself, where all the operations and the piping and the tanks and stuff like that, is not looking to be up next to where that house is currently now.
And you said you're gonna clean up the property,
Yes, ma'am.
but you're not tearing the house down?
Not at this time.
Because it's boarded up, but they still get in there. I mean, there's people going in there, drinking, smoking, who knows what they're doing.
It is gonna have to get cleaned up and removed at some point, because again, they're gonna put a new facility there that's gonna have like, it's not gonna be a house, but it's gonna be offices, space and stuff like.
In the meantime, people keep coming, can it be boarded up in the back?
The city just acquired it, keep that in mind, the city just acquired it.
Right, but it's been a nuisance for how long? And
It seems like it takes forever to get some of these things addressed, when it isn't your property. It is our property, we're gonna get the graffiti cleaned up, we're trying to get the yard cleaned up, and, if we need to get that boarded up to keep the varmints and individuals out of there, it'll be done.
okay, and as soon as you get the schematic of the plant, I can get a copy of it.
That's a good question, I don't know when that becomes public, once we get it. I mean, it is a public document, I'm sure, at some point.
Once it's approved, but the completion of the design is not supposed to be until June of 2024, to let you know. So it's gonna take a while for that to.
In all fairness, though, I do hope that it's going to be completed well in advance of that, because the goal is to get it completed and then get all of our permits, so we can be in this long process to get funding. So in other words, you'll have that before 2024, because that's the deadline, it has to be done. But I hope it's gonna be done significantly sooner than that.
And you're not, are you guys gonna plan on closing the road
For what?
that goes by the plant now?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so
No.
we're gonna stay open all the way open, okay,
Now, if that closes temporarily for when they're constructing it or something, maybe, I don't know.
okay.
Don left already?
More than likely.
What, no, sorry.
Well, we usually put people, the presenters usually get to go first, so that way they can get out of here.
Left Jim here.
Jim's ready to answer any and all questions, right?
Okay, we ready to go? Thomas?
I'm ready to roll. I have nothing to report tonight.
Terry?
I've got a few things. Got some stats from the fire and ambulance department. Fire department had 11 responses. Of those 11, 2 were mutual aid, 3 were vehicle crashes, 1 dumpster fire, 2 gas leaks, 1 line down, and 1 forcible entry call. The ambulance went out the door 66 times, and of those 66 times, 24 were transfers. I got a couple things to go over. When the city bills went out this month, it referenced the pork chop dinner for the ambulance service on June 6th. It had the wrong price. It stated it was $12.50 for the 2 pork chops and dinner. It's actually $14. So that was a misprint, and we apologize. On Thursday, May 5th, the Oglesby Fire Department is hosting a MABUS training at the canoe launch, and there's gonna be a large number of emergency vehicles there, so please don't be alarmed, it's just a training. We've sent out several emails for donations for the fire department to purchase a thermal imaging camera. Green Thumb Industries donated $1,000. Amy is awesome. She got us a grant from the Illinois Public Risk Fund for $3,370. And we've sent out, we've had somebody else come back with, what, a $100 donation, and it's just building from there. Just for reference, the cost of one of them is about $8,000. One thing, I'm not really sure, pretty new, so I'm not sure how I approach this. I need to have an appropriation added to the ambulance, line items for, part-time paramedic clothing. Because right now what's happening is our ambulance director gets $300 a year to spend on clothing. She puts all that money towards her staff, and plus she's taken money out of her own pocket to buy these people uniforms, and I don't think that's right. She's been doing this for years. I just found out about it. I'm not in favor of that. I think we can put a line item in there we want our paramedics to look professional, want them all wearing the same thing. I don't want people showing up with shorts and flip-flops, showing up to somebody's house who's having a heart attack.
How do we do our firefighter ones for that? I understand police are different,
We
but
buy all of the fire department, stuff.
can we look to adopt something similar to how we do that? Because
Well,
they're,
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, adopting something similar to how we do them as well would make sense. I
They're a
understand the
little bit
police are
different,
completely
Jason,
different.
because their clothing is bunker gear, so you're talking big money for the fire department with their protective gear. As far as for the ambulance, I'm thinking if you can give me an appropriation for $1,000 a year, I think I can make that work. I don't think that's a lot of money.
Is there one for full-time, or is there nothing currently? Is my-
Well, I think the only
I
full-time
haven't
employee
looked
they
at
have is Kathy, and she gets a $300.
Oh, okay.
Stipend, but she's being selfless and giving it to her employees.
I got it now. I thought the IMRF people were technically full-time.
We can get that taken care of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terry, yesterday was the first day of the new fiscal year. Your appropriation ordinance has to be adopted in the first quarter of the new fiscal year. So over the course of the next few months, Amy and I and your auditors will be working on that appropriation ordinance, and we can ask them to put this in there.
Excellent, because I need a lot of changes on the police department's appropriations as well. So when you guys go through that process, please let me know, and
Okay.
I'd like to get the police chief involved in it too. Thank you, that's all I have, Mayor.
Cully?
Oh, wait a second, one more thing, I'm sorry. The mold has been remediated from the police department, so phase one there is complete. There will be a phase two. We're still talking about how that's gonna be structured, and I will report back when we have those figures.
Cully?
That's it.
I have nothing tonight.
Just a couple things. Only thing really new is pool credit. We'll be doing that again this year. So again, remember, it's one per year, and then call into the clerk's office after the pool's been filled. May 31st, we'll start our hydrant flushing. Hopefully it won't impact anything with schools. And this week is the chipping for the spring that's happening right now. So if you haven't gotten your chipping clippings out and things like that, make sure you do. And the last thing I got, just a little bit of good news, is we did get the Safe Route to School grant for our sidewalk program. Still waiting on some of the details of how the funding's gonna work out for that, but as soon as that comes out, I'll make sure I let people know. That's all I got.
Let me know when we get the check.
Will do.
Is that when construction starts?
Fun Fest is only about 7 weeks away. We need volunteers. We need help in reaching the jackpot of $15,000 in 50/50 tickets. This is a family fun event. In order to be successful, we need everyone's support. Contractor to build a solar project behind the fire station has been selected, and by the end of the summer, we should see the project up and running. The 500 kVA transformer is about 20 weeks out, and the cost is $12,500 for that. Gonna mention something. We see increased costs in electric rates and toll charges in getting the power to Oglesby. The IMEA in the city of Oglesby is well-positioned in generation capacity. But I'm gonna tell you, should the city be notified that it has to shed load, we have put a plan in place. And to start with, our industrial customers would be first, commercial next. If the schools aren't in session, that's an easy one, and the residents would be the last. One might ask how this can be. Well, you can't close baseload power plants and not have generation to replace it with. We are replacing the loss of load in Illinois with transmission ties to our neighboring states. 1 year ago at the auction, went for 15 cents a kilowatt. This year, same auction, a kilowatt went for $7.15. So if you're not hedged and you were buying it on the open market, expect your costs to go up. I did receive a call today from a resident about water. I checked with Test. Her concern was when I say Deer Park, that the water was unsafe to drink. That is not true. The water that comes out of the plant is safe to drink. And I didn't know about that today, and I'll just leave by encouraging people to support the ambulance and their pork chop dinner on June 6th. That's all I have. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Udis.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye.
Yes, sir. Sir. Yes, sir.
Definitely.
I think it sees through walls.